Hey, everyone.
It says we're live.
Yeah. Guess we have to start talking.
Yeah.
Do you want to plug your site first?
I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino. Do movie reviews. If you want to follow me on anything, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff, it's The Real Gino, ReelGeno.
As you can tell, it's a different time tonight. Sorry if you could hear the cicadas out there. They showed Valerian at a weird time. They showed it at 5 instead of when they usually do the stuff, which is around 7 or after, unless it's a kid's movie. Then it usually is 5, so I don't know why they went ahead and did it at 5 o'clock today. But at least with this one being at 5, I can actually fit in both movies tonight, given that this is like 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
Something like that. It feels like it.
Yeah. So this is the new Luc Besson movie, and it's, if you've heard anything about this movie in terms of its visuals, in terms of the imagination that a lot of stuff has in the movie, whether it's the costuming, the special effects, the makeup, all of that. I mean, it's there. What you loved about something like The Fifth Element, in terms of that, in terms of the style of the movie, the scope, this is certainly a world-building film. It's impressive, and a lot of it is jaw-dropping when you see it. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous film to look at. The action sequences they're imaginative. The set pieces are, again, the costuming, all of that. I mean, they put 100% of their talents behind that. What did you think of all that?
You know, all that stuff, I agree.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you will like looking at this movie.
Yeah.
Everything he said is true. That being said, I don't know if the movie deserves all of that. The movie isn't terrible.
It's not Jupiter Ascending.
No, I was going, okay, we're either going to get a new Fifth Element, right? Because it's all the same writer-director, or we're going to get another Jupiter Ascending, and that would have just, I don't want to sit through another one of those. You know,
it's somewhere between.
Yeah, you know, if this movie would have took itself more seriously, it wouldn't have worked.
No.
And it may have fell into that Jupiter Ascending territory, maybe not that bad, because I don't know if anything's that bad. but the fact that a lot of it, there's some serious stuff, but
certainly
a lot of the characters are lighthearted. A lot of dialogues, they at least try to be funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, there's fun action, things like that. And the fact that it's having fun with itself makes it at least somewhat enjoyable to watch.
No, yeah, it certainly feels like it could even take place in the same universe as The Fifth Element. It has totally a lot of that really quirky dialogue, goofy side characters that show up and do kind of weird cartoony things. This movie does that too. And like in The Fifth Element, when you have characters who show up for just bit moments and do that, it's enjoyable because Luc Besson has a great sense of humor in most of his movies, and he does in this one too. Because this is visualistically, stylistically, it's impressive. It is a spectacle film. If you want to see it in theaters for the spectacle of it, in 3D and all of that, you'll get your money's worth in that regard. I mean, it is that gorgeous, and because of that, I don't know how well this movie is going to do, but I could almost kind of see it becoming kind of a cult film, sort of in the vein of something like Dune.
Yeah, they've almost been advertising it that way. Saying, I remember us telling you, I saw some advertisement that said, see it in the theater now before it becomes a cult classic. I don't know if it's going to become a full-time cult classic, but it's a okay sci-fi romp. I kept imagining the way that Dane DeHaan was playing his character. If this movie was in the 90s, it would have been Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Just the way he delivered his dialogue, the way he just brought everything, to the role. It was almost very young Keanu-esque.
Yeah, and a lot of that leads to huge problems I have with this.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of the movie's plot, I mean, look, it's a spectacle film. You don't need a movie like this to reinvent the wheel in terms of its plot. It doesn't have to do both of those things. It can still work as just spectacle. This movie has a lot of what was really good about The Fifth Element. But visuals, costuming, all of that isn't the only thing that made The Fifth Element memorable and well received, and it's an excellent film, The Fifth Element. The Fifth Element, you also had Bruce Willis in there, you had Mila Jovovich, you had Gary Oldman, you had all of these characters that and actors that could easily carry that film and keep you interested, give you someone to root for. Or in Gary Oldman's case, he's our villain, but he's a delight every time he's on screen. That was in The Fifth Element, including stuff that's great in this film. Again, the set pieces and all of that. But this movie doesn't have anything in terms of the characters that also made a movie like The Fifth Element great. And I was thinking about Keanu Reeves when I was watching this with Dane DeHaan's performance, because I do love Keanu Reeves. I do. Keanu Reeves is, the movies he's great in, he is excellent. There are certain types of roles that he definitely excels at. But Keanu Reeves is also an actor who has in the past been miscast in things
Very much
before.
so.
That's how I felt about Dane DeHaan in The Cure for Wellness, and that's how I feel about him in this movie too.
Yeah.
And I've seen, like Keanu Reeves, I've seen Dane DeHaan in things that he's great in.
Yeah.
But he can't carry this film, and neither can Cara Delevingne.
You know, see, yeah, I'm not a fan of hers really either. I haven't seen her in much, but you know, I've suffered through Paper Towns, and I didn't like her very much in Suicide Squad because she didn't really have much to do.
I didn't even realize that was her until like the ending credits of that movie.
You know, she was there to shake her hips, basically.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to for them to give her something to really do, and somewhat I enjoyed their banter together, somewhat in the cheesy, goofy sort of way, but it does not. It doesn't carry the movie at all.
No, it doesn't, and it could have. Their banter in this movie is what you've seen in movies like this since they've been doing sci-fi films. There's this sexual tension between the two of them. They're always kind of bickering. That's fine. The problem in this is they have shit for chemistry in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't care if they end up together, and because I really don't care about them as characters, they're really not carrying this movie for me. She is really wooden and monotone. He's not. It's just he's miscast.
Yeah.
He can't. If this movie were made 30 years ago, it'd be like Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie.
That was exactly what I was thinking.
And that would be great. That would be great. That's what this kind of movie needs. Like The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis, like Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
It needs that. There's an actor with some gravitas, some screen presence, some delivery in terms of the action and the one-liners. Again, I've seen Dane DeHaan be excellent in movies. This isn't the kind of movie he should have been in. It's not the kind of role he should have carried. It should have been someone like a Schwarzenegger from the 80s or early 90s.
Well, I can't say I've read up on the Valerian comics or anything. I've just kind of studied them a little bit before I came to see this with him. And the way the character sounds, it's almost, I mean, this is what it was, a 50s or 60s French comic series. And it almost felt like it was supposed to be one of those beefy superheroes. You know what I mean? Like a Buck Rogers or a Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
And Dane DeHaan is, I hate to say he's too small for one part, because you almost expect like someone more that at least looks more athletic. And I'm not saying, you know, the action scenes were terrible or anything.
No, they're not.
He just seemed like he was supposed to stand out, and you know, from all the other characters, because he's like the hero. And
when he has to say lines like "I'm giving the orders here," and like you forgot about the law and things like that. I'm like, I'm not buying it. I'm not. I could maybe buy him in this character if it were an animated film.
Yeah.
Because honestly, his character seems like it's kind of straight out of some animes that I've seen.
Yeah.
In his performance, even honestly kind of how he looks. But the action sequences are good. Like, a lot of care really went into every single one of them. But because he and Cara Delevingne are not carrying this movie, I couldn't get that emotionally invested in these action sequences, other than they're pretty.
Yeah, I was just trying to enjoy the romp, and I was doing okay. I mean, it would have been one of those, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Mm-hmm. And then they got to a part where she had to find him, and she does, okay? And I'm thinking, okay, now they're going to move on. But then all of a sudden, he's got to go rescue her. Mm-hmm. And that's where the movie started falling apart for me, because it goes into this whole thing where he had to sneak into some place, but he had to get a disguise thing. So he had like 3 missions to go on. It almost felt like a video game. I mean,
it does.
It didn't help that their like soldier outfits look like the things from Mass Effect, but.
Someone in the chat goes, "Where's Mr. Pembroke?" Cure for wellness.
He may be on that planet somewhere.
Exactly.
There's like, what was it, 1,000 planets?
That, you're right when this movie does get sidetracked very easily.
Yeah.
It's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and dear God, does it get sidetracked. Yes. When it gets so sidetracked, even when the main plot kind of comes into it, in the third act, and you kind of see what's been going on. What really does the City of 1,000 Planets have to do with a lot of this and the grand scheme of things? Enough to the point to where it's part of the title.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess only because they couldn't call it Valerian and Mule, which was the name of a main planet that has a lot to do with the plot.
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe they would have explored a little more. That's what I was expecting. Maybe they would go to some of these different quote-unquote worlds.
Well, they went into the burlesque thing with the Rihanna that you were talking about.
Yeah, you know, Rihanna is one of the most beautiful women in the world, in my opinion. I want her to stop acting. I really do. I mean...
You didn't buy her death scene?
It started with Battleship, and it goes here... And
it's a better movie than Battleship.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
At least in this, it makes, unlike Battleship, where she was like a soldier or something, it kind of makes sense that it's Rihanna playing this part, this alien burlesque singer.
And I would have been okay with that, but then her part dragged on.
It does.
And I thought she was going to be like the new sidekick for the rest of the movie.
No.
And nope.
No, it would be like if they killed off Chris Tucker about halfway into Fifth Element, which never gets quite as extreme as Chris Tucker did in that movie. But she does have this whole dance number in the movie, and it is beautiful to watch. It's edited really well. Yeah. The effects are really good. But yeah, like it reminded me of like the opera scene in The Fifth Element, only that felt like it was integrated better into that plot than this one here, because this one, like a lot of other things in the movie, it just gets sidetracked, and that's what that felt like. It felt like, okay, well, we're pausing things for about 20 minutes now while he has this detour with Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, and that was weird.
That made me think too, like, you know who would be a better Valerian than Dane DeHaan? Ethan Hawke. He's right there. Yeah. You could ask him if you want.
Apparently he was only, available for like a day.
He's barely in this movie. I mean, he's in this movie more than Jerry O'Connell was in Wish Upon.
Oh, God. But yeah, the movie keeps sidetracking itself just to pad time, just to add to the story, and it didn't need to.
It didn't need to, because if you take out all that stuff that was in there that really stretched everything out, it would still be about an hour and 45-minute movie.
Yeah, and that would have been the better solid runtime, an easier sit.
Yeah.
Because, the whole Rihanna scene, I was just like, they could have cut the whole thing out. Mm-hmm. And, that's it.
Again, casting would have made all the difference in the world. If we had a couple of heroes that were interesting to watch and I gave a shit about, I would be okay that this world building movie is using these side plots to kind of give us a tour of everything that goes on in it. I would be cool with it in that regard. Again, if there was some semblance of screen presence in front of us in terms of the actors. This isn't a bad film. No. It's going to be remembered come Oscar season because of the costuming, the visuals, all of that. It absolutely is. And if you want to see the pure spectacle of it, then yeah, it would be worth seeing in the theater if that's what you want and you want to go see just eye candy and you see it in 3D and you take in all the beauty of it, because it is a beautiful looking movie. But it's not The Fifth Element. It's not anywhere close to being as fun or memorable as that movie. You'll get your money's worth in terms of the look of everything, but that'll be about it. And if you want more in terms of characters or acting, then I can't say you should see this movie in the theater, but then again, what does work best about this movie should only be seen in a theater.
Yeah, the size and just the colors and the effects and everything else isn't going to translate too well on a small screen. If you're going to watch it on a small screen, you might as well spend a little less money and watch The Fifth Element again.